Yes. Welcome, Karin, and welcome, Mattias.
Thank you very much.
From Tele2. And yet another exciting talk. And let me see. Yet another exciting talk. And that's the problem of running the YouTube at the same time. So welcome, everyone, and good afternoon. And I'm personally excited to know more about Tele2. And it seems many of the students are as well. And we have together with us, Karin, I think you are more working on the marketing side, right?
Exactly.
And then Mattias more about technical side. So we have a very good combination of expertise today. And without further ado, basically, I let you two to run the show, and I will be off the track. And welcome.
Yes, but please do ask questions, and Francis, don't hesitate to interrupt us whenever there are questions, because we prefer to take them, well, as in real life as possible.
Yes.
And yes, my name is Karin Edebo. My role is product marketing manager, meaning that I work between marketing and sales in Tele2 IoT. Mattias, over to you and your role.
Yeah, absolutely. Mattias Hahne is my name, and I'm working as a product manager for To Control platform, which is our connectivity management platform.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I have been with the Tele2 for 2 years. Yeah, it's still 2 years, yes, not so much more than that. This means that I'm not the technical person you should ask anything about, but I still think it's great that we are here to be able to tell you about the benefits of cellular connectivity. And I also think it's great that we brought Mattias, since he's not only the product manager of our connectivity control platform, he also has a strong background from Tele2 IoT and Tele2 itself. And what's great about how we have set things up in Tele2 is that IoT is an own division. We used to be an own company. Now we are a business unit. And we have 70 people working only with IoT. So Mattias and I, we sometimes also go to different departments in Tele2, since not many people at all know much about IoT in such a company as Tele2. I think it's interesting for you students to know that you are in a field where not much has yet been discovered. You now will get to know things that is brand new and quite cool to be aware of.
So by 70, you mean in Sweden or around the Europe?
We both work in Kista, near Stockholm.
Mm-hmm.
Our core market is Europe, but also now, since Tele2 has a lot of Swedish companies who are starting to get very interested in IoT, we sort of say primarily Sweden, then Europe, and then we are global. Our whole roaming is global. So we really serve global customers, but mainly from Sweden and then Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very correct. Please continue.
Are you going to, well, are there questions, Francis, or should we dive into our presentation that we have prepared?
I think we can start with the presentation, and as it goes, there will be more questions.
Yes. Really, really, really happy to see questions from you all. So
Tele2 joined.
Okay, so my computer joined, and yes. So we have understood that you are focused a lot on Sigfox and LoRa in what you now have been going through. Yes. So what we want to accomplish today is for you all to understand that there is also something called cellular IoT, and when to use that and how our customers are using this. And thank you also for asking that, or sort of mentioning that in the questions. We saw that there was an interest in like how are our customers doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So Mattias, when we say that only 1% of the objects in the world are connected, is it really 1%?
No, I would say it's maybe even less than 1%, but it's getting more and more connected, and everything is getting connected by the minute. So.
And it's cool because so many companies now, forced by COVID and what's happening in the world, are starting to talk about digitalization. I think this is not a marketing class, but in marketing we speak about personas. So the whole Tele2 are setting up personas depending on digitalization of the company, the whole business-to-business part of Tele2, I should say. So we have also found now that there are no companies who say, no, we are low on digitalization. They're all getting digitalized. And then IoT is, of course, a big part of digitalization and increasingly for many customers who are now sort of starting off their journey. And we also read that 127 new things are connected every second. And then those would be mobile phones, right, Mattias?
Not only mobile phones, quite a lot of different other things as well, just as mentioned before here. Yeah, everything can be connected, no doubt about it. And using the cellular networks is a brilliant way to do it, and a great opportunity to make your dreams come true, so to say, or your use case probably is that it might be a dream.
So 120 new things, is it only the cellular network or any kind of network?
I think this would be any kind of network, because this is sort of bragging about how fast things are happening, like every second. And also now speaking about being it 1% or whatever percent it is, it's so much going on now. And also sort of defining the smart use cases there are, which we all can benefit from being much more sustainable and much more efficient in how we set things up. And we, of course, study market research because this is super interesting. And this is a study from Forrester, which is a big, strong analytics company. And then they have asked companies with 20 employees or more if they are implementing, if they are planning to implement, or if they are interested but don't have plans. And here we, of course, see that the enterprises are more on board than the smaller sized companies. But still, I mean, 50% of the enterprises say they are implementing or expanding. But what we see is that, sure, they have started and they might have proof of concepts going on and pilots going on, but not at all many companies are, you know, on their strongest path or in the phase where everything is up and running. No, not at all. And therefore also your expertise that you're getting here is very valuable out there, because we also hear from companies that they lack knowledge in IoT, since like, where are the classes for IoT and how do you get to know everything there is to know about IoT? Yes, in your class apparently, or if you, I mean, Mattias, you know a lot about IoT since you have been working with IoT, but normally in a company you have to practice and learn as you go.
Yeah, I do agree, and it would have been awesome if I had a proper class for it when I went to school as well. I think it's amazing. So yeah, and having the idea is the starting point to getting your business up and running, or how you should say it. But still, it's a long way to go even after you have that idea to actually get it to a proper business. And hopefully we can shed some light on that during this presentation as well.
Yes. So also then for you as students, we want you to know why you want to connect things with cellular IoT. So let's start it off by seeing a video on 5G from us at Tele2. Can you help us with that, Francis?
Sure.
Thing to share.
I guess everybody, you can see my screen, right?
Not yet.
With every
Not yet.
new generation of wireless networks, the result is faster speeds and enhanced functionality. With 1G, we got the first cell phone.
At least.
2G got us all texting each other, while with 3G, we got in line and started Googling. 4G gave us the speeds we enjoy today. But here's the catch. As more and more users come online, the demand for data availability is growing right alongside it. And at the same time this is happening, 4G networks are nearly tapped.
Sorry, are you following the video?
We can't see it at least.
It says others can't see it as well, but it should.
Yeah, it worked when we tested it, but I can type it in the chat. Can I, or will you do that, Francis, and everybody can watch it on their own?
No, I think I can try one more, but it should work. Okay, now it will work.
With every new generation of wireless networks, the result is faster speeds and enhanced functionality. With 1G, we got the first cell phones. 2G got us all texting each other, while with 3G, we got in line and started Googling. 4G gave us the speeds we...
Not yet?
No.
But it says it was playing.
Now it seems to be there.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, now it should show. Sorry for that.
With every new generation of wireless networks, the result is faster speeds and enhanced functionality. With 1G, we got the first cell phones. 2G got us all texting each other, while with 3G, we got in line and started Googling. 4G gave us the speeds we enjoy today. But here's the catch. As more and more users come online, the demand for data availability is growing right alongside it. And at the same time this is happening, 4G networks are nearly tapped out. Enter 5G, which can handle 1,000 times more traffic than we see today, and which is 10 times faster than anything we've seen before. Let's put it into perspective. Imagine downloading an HD film in just a few seconds, or a rock being cut with precision in a mine in northern Sweden by a miner based in southern Sweden, or even a brain surgeon based in New York performing surgery on a patient in Berlin. The possibilities 5G is expected to bring will enable virtual reality, autonomous driving, IoT, and any number of other things that haven't yet crossed anyone's mind. So, what does 5G offer customers? To be honest, even the experts can't tell us exactly what 5G will bring when it comes to new ideas and connections, but they can point to 5 emerging technologies that lay the groundwork. And those are millimeter waves, small cells, massive MIMO, beamforming, and full duplex. Let's start with millimeter waves. Your devices, such as smartphones and tablets, use very specific frequencies on the radio frequency spectrum, typically under 6 gigahertz. But because carriers can only squeeze so many bits of data on the same amount of radio frequency spectrum, things are getting a wee bit crowded. And with more and more devices coming online all the time, the result is going to be slower service and more dropped connections. So, what is the solution? establish some new real estate by broadcasting on shorter millimeter waves, those that fall between 30 and 300 gigahertz. This section of spectrum hasn't been used before, but utilizing it will mean more bandwidth for everyone. But not so fast. Millimeter waves don't travel well through buildings and other obstacles, and they tend to be absorbed by plants and rain. This is where small cell networks come into the picture. You've probably seen the huge, high-powered cell towers that wireless networks rely on. They're used to broadcast signals over long distances, but as we've already learned, higher frequency millimeter waves don't have an easy time traveling through obstacles. Small cell networks fix that by employing thousands of low-power mini base stations placed much more closely together than traditional towers. They form a sort of relay team to transmit signals around obstacles. Think of a basketball team passing the ball at high speed around their opponents. This would be especially helpful in cities where there are obstacles everywhere. Just say a user is walking down a city street, and when they turn the corner, they move behind an obstacle. Small cell networks would mean their device switches to a new base station with better range, allowing him or her to keep their connection. On to technology number 3, massive MIMO, or multiple input, multiple output. 4G base stations have roughly a dozen ports for antennas handling all cellular traffic. On the other hand, massive MIMO base stations can support around 100 ports, increasing capacity by a factor of 22 or more. But like with most technology, massive MIMO comes with its own challenges. Cellular antennas broadcast information in every direction at once, and all of those crossing signals run the risk of serious interference. Here's where we get lucky with beamforming. Beamforming is like a traffic signaling system. Instead of broadcasting in every direction, a focused stream of data is sent to a specific user, which prevents interference, increases efficiency, and allows stations to handle more incoming and outgoing data streams at the same time. Here's how it works. Just say you're walking down that city street we were talking about, trying to make a phone call. Your signal is bouncing off buildings and crisscrossing with signals from other users in the area. A massive MIMO base station receives all of these signals and oversees the timing and the direction of their arrival. It then uses signal processing algorithms to triangulate exactly where each signal is coming from and plots the best transmission route back to each phone. Sometimes it will even bounce individual packets of data off of buildings or other objects to keep signals from interfering with one another. The result? A coherent data stream sent only to you. Finally, there's technology number 5, full duplex. If you've ever used a tube to do both at the same time, due to the principle of reciprocity, which is radio waves traveling both forward and backward on the same frequency. Think of it like this. A radio wave is a rush hour subway train loaded up with data. The frequency it is traveling on is the train track. If there is a second train coming from the opposite direction along the same track, well, you're going to crash. Avoiding that crash has previously meant having the data streams put on different frequencies, but you can gain a lot of efficiencies by working around reciprocity. Using silicon transistors creates high-speed switches that halt the backward roll of these waves, sort of like a signaling system that reroutes trains or puts them on a sidetrack so another train can pass. Doing this means a lot more gets done on each track a whole lot faster. There's still a lot to be done in working out the kinks with all of these technologies. And let's be honest, all of 5G remains a work in progress because we've only just started our incredible 5G journey. But the good news is that technology is moving quickly, and ultra-fast 5G service has already arrived in some areas of Sweden and will cover the entire country within the next few years. So get ready to download that film in the blink of an eye, or maybe perform brain surgery in Stockholm on a patient in New York. Welcome to the wonderful world of 5G.
Yes, it's our wonderful colleague Judy who has the American voice, and we tried to speed up with her, but she gets to say a lot there in those 7 minutes of what 5G stands for. And we're super proud also at Tele2 to be first in Sweden to have launched it, and now it's expanding heavily. So also for us to be able to use it in the rest of the world. But 5G, that's one technology that now got explained and that we of course work with. But Mattias, since you are super great also with low power wide area technologies, which also Sigfox and LoRa are part of, then over to you.
Yeah, thank you. You can click forward a little bit. I think there will be some animation here.
Okay, I see the full screen, but maybe you don't. All
right. Anyway, all right. Let's skip that. What makes it possible for us to use the 5G in this kind of way is the license spectrum, basically, and that's what we as an operator pay quite hefty money to get, and that is what separates it quite a bit from what you're dealing with in this course, pretty much the LoRa and the Sigfox technologies, since that's on an unlicensed spectrum. And today we're working with LTM within Tele2 and progressing rapidly with NB-IoT as well. So these will be available soon as well. And pretty much what our customers expect from us when they get any of these technologies for IoT is to get a service that they don't have to manage. As a LoRaWAN or anything like that, you have to manage your or a LoRa network. You need to manage your network, and that's something that our customers see as it's not their priority thing to handle. They have other use cases they should be best at, so they can focus on their business and really leave the network to us. So that's really why they're looking for a plug and play option. Both the NB-IoT and the LTM has to some extent the possibility as well to cover for both high data speeds, mobility, roaming in some cases, and also to cover for the voice support. And especially when 2G and 3G networks are getting sunsetted and not being able to be used any longer, then it's very good that it can be covered by these other technologies. So let's look a little bit more on this you already know about the Sigfox and LoRa for sure, that it's a very long battery time and also quite cheap devices most of the time, but still very, very good technologies, and that you really need to see from the user perspective and the use case you're working with, what kind of technology is the best for that particular use case. So let's look a little bit more on the spectrum versus unlicensed spectrum. And these are typical benefits for the licensed spectrum that we have with the dedicated frequencies. You often get very high quality in the network, the stability, and also the scalability, speed, and the security. The security is already built into the standards that are used, and also the speeds we can see with 5G for sure. While with the unlicensed spectrum, you have pretty good flexibility, very cheap devices, which could be a real benefit. But it also has some drawback that it can be crowded in the network, and with the little fuzzy ruling, you don't really know what you can expect from the technology at all times. So these are, of course, things we see as benefits with the licensed spectrum.
But just out of curiosity, in the previous slide you showed plug and play network. So those plug and play, is it the cellular networks or any other types of networks?
Yeah, exactly. That's in the cellular networks, since both NB-IoT and LTM done on the cellular network.
The picture means that LTM has all of this.
Okay.
And NB-IoT is more leaned toward quality, and LTM is more leaned towards the existing 2G, 3G use cases that we know of in need of higher data speeds.
Okay. Because there was different intersection, so I was thinking which intersection correspond to what.
Good clarification, Karin, I think. I hope that made it a little bit clearer.
Yes.
I also wanted to bring up what you said, Mattias, about scalability, because also to understand our customers that we take in and serve at Tele2 IoT, it's the one that we see great potential in and that they will scale a lot. And then since they also see a long future in IoT, they need some stability in that regards. They can't go with any technology that they can't really rely on, and that there isn't really any licenses around.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any more questions there?
Not yet, but it's coming out, I guess.
Great.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
All right. So looking at 5G and here we really see that both LTM and NB-IoT, they are a part of the 5G massive machine type communication and the design goals that are there for 5G. So it will be possible to have a device living on like 10 years on 2 AA batteries. So we're getting closer to what Sigfox and LoRa can do. That's interesting. And we'll also see that there will be a lot of more devices in the fields, up to 1 million devices in square kilometers. So it's getting crowded up there, and with the frequencies we have, we can make sure to transmit and receive from all of these devices and really have the best coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're doing this with the 3GPP version release 13, I should say. 3GPP is the standard organization, one of the standards organization for mobile technologies. But it will be built into the LPWA design goals for 5G when it comes to release 15. So it's getting there quite rapidly.
How often are they doing those releases?
That depends on quite a few things in the network. Quite hard to tell. But we're moving on quickly there.
Within some year, yeah.
But since we are also talking about narrowband IoT, so there was a question related to it, like how long is the range for communicating for narrowband IoT? Plus, when you are setting up the towers, how dense or what should be the distance between towers, minimum distance?
Let's start with the last question. It depends very much in what kind of surroundings you are. If you're in the rural area, or if you're in the city center, it really makes a big difference. So you can't really say that it should be in a specific. You need to take in consideration many different parameters to conclude where to put the actual antennas and the base stations. Mm-hmm. So it can differ quite a lot. I can't really give any specific numbers because you really need to look at the terrain and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But I know we're building for the new 5G network. We're building something around 2,000 new base stations. So it's really getting a lot of new stations and antennas in different areas.
And much closer to one another than what we used to, as we could see in the video.
Yeah, exactly. And the first question was regarding how far you could transmit with NB-IoT.
Yeah.
And I actually don't have a concrete number on that one. So I leave that up to the specs. But I think Yeah, I have to leave it by that.
And then there is other questions. Maybe I can take this opportunity to ask.
Yes.
What do you see the future of narrowband IoT and LTE M1 comparing to LoRaWAN and Sigfox in the future?
Yeah, I think they all of the technologies have good prospects for the future, but it depends very much on your particular use case, what you want to do, and what is the best way to go. And also, depending on how much you scale and if you're going internationally or global, it might be easier to go with a cellular solution. So there are a lot of different factors you need to consider, and also how you should do upgrades of your particular device, how security comes into play, how sensitive is your information, and so on. So I think you really need to check that from case to case, what is the best one.
But it's super interesting to ask, and since they all have a bright future, and also devices are connected every second, so there will be very many connected. It's not that one of these technologies really will win. It's that they all will be used, but for different reasons, just as the ones that Mattias mentioned.
And then there was another second part of the question, like if there are any specific case study for or use cases for narrowband IoT and LTE M1 for the industry.
Yes, of course, the special use cases are the ones who have thought that they couldn't really have a good return on investment on previous devices. But now, since the battery life is making the devices being able to run much longer, then it's really opening up those use cases. Because for some use cases, it was already enough with previous technologies, but now even more get beneficial in the return on investment. Or what would you say, Mattias?
Yeah, I think that is correct, and of course, where you have the power consumption, where you really can get the good benefits. Of course, you have that in the other LPWA technologies as well. But also, it comes down to that a lot of companies, they want to have it handled with one technology rather than having it spread across multiple technologies, due to the fact that you need to manage it. You need to manage your devices, and when it becomes 1,000, it's fine, but when you get up to the 1,000,000 and more, you don't want to do that in multiple places, and so that could be one of the reasons for going with a cellular example, or cellular technology.
And since we are also taking questions about network, let me add 2 more questions. So there was a question about SIM card, like do you need a SIM card to get the connectivity, and how do you charge for the service?
Yes, we will come to our whole product offering where SIM cards are included. And what was the other question?
So security, it's about security. How do I avoid to be tracked in Tele2 network? Like yes. Avoiding big brothers.
That would be with an eSIM where you can switch operator, and then you can choose for yourself which operator you want to remotely transfer to. So that's a pretty smart new technology and innovation.
Yeah, let's continue, and then maybe I can pick up.
Next. Great. So we are going to look at 3 of our customers. And of course, as you are already so aware of applied IoT, you want, of course, to be thinking for yourself, what are we measuring here and why? And does this company want to connect to internet or not? And why would they want to remotely control this? How should this generated data be accessed? And what is it that they want to do with that generated data? So which insights is this company looking for? And my own big waving flag here, how to show return on investment of the IoT investment, and perhaps what was done previously and why is this better? Those are, I mean, interesting commercial questions, but I think the commercial aspect is super important, because without thinking like this, it won't fly. So, Sweden's second largest city, Göteborg. I'm close to Vänersborg now on my vacation and going there in a couple of days. They see themselves as early adopters within IoT, and we have made a case study with them, and we will also launch a webinar with them in August or September, so stay tuned for that. They have started internally to set everything up in an organized way and not run too fast. So what they're doing, this is this image we had from their PowerPoint materials, but they are starting with the air pollution, the smart homes, the waste management, and the water quality now in the city. Although there is, of course, much more to do within the city, but also being wise and smart with our tax money, they have to do this very organized. And they gave two really interesting examples when we when we have been interviewing them. And one is about how they grow trees in the city. So previously they have been watering them on a schedule. And by that, you just have to see that some trees are dying, because that amount of water was right for some trees, but not for all of them. And now when they instead use the sensors to say how moist the soil is, they can instead go from scheduled to on-demand driven watering. And by that, they save water, a lot of water. I don't have the numbers here, but you can imagine, like they also save those trees so that many more trees are staying alive. And also in some cases, they don't have to go out to the trees and water them, so they save on manpower and petrol. And their second example is about the water temperature in their lakes, both now summertime, when almost everyone wants to go swimming, but also increasingly interest for winter swimming. So therefore also telling, like, here it's open and here is the right temperature for the water. And there, obviously, since the sensor can send this data, it's great instead of somebody going out there physically to measure it. But we also heard them talking about measuring the air pollution and putting in the right things to do for it, as well as litter bins being both filled and going there to empty them, demand driven, not on schedule. And also there are sensors nowadays for smell. So when it's too smelly, they can also go and empty them. Second example, Mattias, you will talk about AdSecure.
Yeah, that's correct. AdSecure, they are quite a large company, and they do things in all of these different segments. So it's smart alarms, and that's being different kind of alarms, house alarms, store alarms, any kind of alarm you can imagine. They do smart rescue, which is how to help out in any kind of emergency situations. They have something called smart grid as well, and smart care is typically with when we go to elderly care and how that is done, and also smart transport. And all of these are in very different segments. And here we can talk about multiple use cases within the same company. And here they could have gone with different technologies, but they have chosen to do this with us and with cellular IoT. And in some of these areas, you have, for example, monitoring, which consumes a lot of bandwidth and a lot of data. It should perhaps be in HD quality or anything like that. And then it's quite natural to go with a technology that matches this. And eventually it will go for sure on 5G to get the very best speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think they also have an interesting use case since they are buying other successful IoT businesses. So they bought another smart transport customer of ours, and we heard their case some year ago on Tele2 IoT Talks, which you are all invited to also in November, by the way. And there we learned from the company Veco, which now AdSecure has bought, that they use the way the driver is driving the truck is getting measured in real time. So whenever it's not as efficient driving as it could be, the driver gets some nudge on like, do this instead. So they both save on the cars or vehicles themselves to use them more efficiently, but also petrol. And here it starts to be very many devices in total, like for this also multi-purpose and then growing each month a lot. So therefore it's very important also to be able to manage the connectivity itself.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
I wanted to bring that up since also for Göteborg Stad, they don't have that many devices yet, but for sure they will, seeing the whole image of everything that can be run in a city, a smart city regarding IoT. But you have to start somewhere, and Göteborg Stad, although early adopter, but not that many devices so far, AdSecure have come much further, and then it's increasingly important also. Then we have the example of Foodora, which some of you might have heard of. It's, maybe not everyone has ordered food from Foodora, but if you live in Stockholm, Stureplan, you can do it from a droid, which now is tested in several steps. And this is then done through 5G, and it's this droid is remotely controlled by technicians and learning as it goes. So take it again, the example of the YouTube. If I stop sharing here, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Will you help us with that, Francis?
Yes, sure. And this time it will not be a problem.
Excellent.
So you can see my screen, right?
Yes, it looks great.
Meet Dora. Dora is a self-driving droid that leading Q-commerce company Foodora is now testing, together with Tele2, on the streets of Stockholm. The customer orders food in the Foodora app. Dora goes to the restaurant and picks up the order, which is then loaded into a locked storage compartment. Dora then drives to the customer, who opens up the compartment with a code she receives on her phone. All of this is possible with 5G from Tele2.
Ja, med Dora så visar vi att vi kan med 5G och IoT få självkörande autonoma fordon att fungera på riktigt här idag. Ja, vi tänker inte stanna här, utan vi kommer titta på hur vi kan ta det här konceptet till andra branscher. Tänker att få matkassen eller mobilen eller surfmattan levererad hem på ett liknande sätt. Det här är bara början på resan med 5G och IoT.
With 5G, Dora has a faster response rate and the ability to communicate in real time. And when the droids are fully integrated into Foodora's systems, IoT technology will enable them to measure and analyze data in order to better optimize delivery routes.
Nästa steg blir att vi kommer integrera Dora med vårt trafikhanteringssystem så att vi kommer kunna se var hon befinner sig i realtid samt optimera leveransrutter. Vi ser att Dora kommer kunna ta emot och acceptera orders precis som våra bud gör idag samt navigera från punkt A till punkt B och därmed bli en integrerad del av vår leveransflotta så småningom. Vi har ju sett att tekniken har gått framåt, vilket också möjliggör nya typer av hemleveranser. Och vi på Foodora vill ligga i framkant och leda utvecklingen framåt. Vi är såklart jätteglada att Tele2, som var först i Sverige med riktig 5G, vill vara med oss på den här resan och delta i projektet.
Yes. Great.
Great. Foodora and Dora. I mean, it's the future, and it's interesting also to hear Stefan Trampus, our CEO, talk so much about what can happen there. And then also by this having a great PR spread, which it had, lots of companies started to reach out to us to talk about what they want to accomplish too as well.
So how do you provide physical security for Dora?
Yes, good question. So you can only, of course, open it with the app, and it's of course locked as much as it can be. It has same sort of, here it gets a parking ticket. A bicycle transport could also be, tampered with in one sense. I think this has a little bit to do with it being walking around, and if somebody is tampering with it, people are going to react because, like, you shouldn't be doing that. And of course, it also senses if somebody is tampering with it and starts to alarm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great use case.
Yes, and as Stefan was saying, this is food, but of course, pharmacy things or other smart, fast deliveries are possible. Mm-hmm. But still, streets of Stockholm can't be totally filled with these. So yeah, we will see more of the droids, drones, I should say, perhaps, mm-hmm. Flying with, I don't know, food, but pharmacy stuff at least. Yeah, so future is here. And speaking of also what's being brought up that we hear from our sales colleagues is that customers now speak about more high bandwidth. They speak about automation, and they also speak about the autonomous, both driving, but what Dora is doing here with AI. And together with the data that gets assembled, they can make even smarter moves. I think, I made the example of the truck drivers being able to change their behavior in real time, but that would only be possible if they had that data from how somebody is driving correctly. And the more data they have, the better they can also see how things should be run. And if a company is interested in this part of digitalization and connectivity, they are, of course, looking into how much value is being created. And this value, which is created, is increasing with the high reliability, the high speed, and the short response times with these steps. So first, base station is efficient administration, but that is not so much value in it. And then being able to collect and visualize data, that's improvement and that's more value. But then to optimize that, as this Veco part of AdSecure and the truck drivers are doing with AI and machine learning, that's much more value, but also then depending on this reliability, speed, and response times. And being able to be fully automated is only when this is super important, but then you also have a lot of value. And in Tele2 IoT, we have for a while been speaking about the use cases in not like, okay, so are you in Industry 2.0, or are you driving? Or, I mean, it's not really about which industry you're in, it's what you want to do, and that's the use case clusters we then have set up. So one is monitoring and tracking, and that's the oldest one, and what companies for the longest period of time have been using IoT for. But they have also learned from monitoring and tracking that they really can be smart in how they maintain their set of devices. And in the predictive maintenance, their repair costs really go down, and they get to be, well, they get to be predictive instead of reactive. And as you can see, the third use case cluster is about remote steering. And this all is disrupting the physical world, as we could see in our first slide, where companies are investing if IoT is creating new revenue streams, or if it's optimizing operations and lowering costs, or if it's enhancing the customer experience, or if it's answering to regulatory demand that they otherwise have to find another solution for. We brought this one in as well, since we have now been speaking about some technologies that we do offer, but also that we can see that they are not, I mean, you shouldn't use 5G if it's only monitoring twice per week that you want to do. Then 5G is not what you need. It's more down here that you need to be. But if you do want to remotely steer, yes, you have to be up here on 5G. And that is really something, it's a discussion that we need to have with each customer who is interested in starting off their IoT journey, of course, because they don't know this. This is not, common knowledge that everybody is aware of. But now, Mattias, we're going over to our portfolio of the things that we discuss with our customers and that we can help them with.
Yeah.
This starts off with the product that you are the product manager of.
Yes, that's very much correct. It's the connectivity control. So this is this platform we're using. It's provided by Cisco. So it's Cisco IoT connectivity control, and this really makes a lot of sense having this kind of solution. So you can see how devices are connecting, what kind of how much they are using when they're setting up sessions, a lot of different things, and you can see if there's a faulty one device that misbehave and so on. That's possible to see. And we also have our access services, and that's basically how we transfer the data from the device to the backend where things will be processed. And this can be done in quite a few different ways. And it's even possible to do it all the way from the device to the backend through VPNs and through physical separated connections. So you don't even have to traverse the internet with the data, which is
that's the collaboration we have with
aspect.
Equinix. Yes. So we try to collaborate with the best in class solutions there are. So we see Cisco as the very best platform for connectivity management, and we see the solution from Equinix with bypassing internet as the very safest one. But it might not be the solution that our customer needs, but we offer from up to that level. Then regarding the global IoT connectivity, many of our customers are global and need that, and then they have to decide on roaming and which networks, also 5G, LTM, if they should, if the devices are using SMS and voice, and which networks, obviously. And then back to the question on the SIM cards. So we of course have the real hardware SIM cards, but we also offer eSIMs. And when these are also welded into the devices, the tampering part or the physical part of what can be stolen or not gets less of an issue. And then also the virtual profiles, where this product, which we didn't really mention yet, but yes, we did previously in another discussion, but where you can have subscriptions for third-party eSIMs, and you can really switch vendors on the SIM card. If you're not happy with the SIM card being on Tele2 in one country, you can switch to some other network that is not in our portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
So these are really the core functionalities and the technical stuff, but we also need to think about the more softer values with the customers, and that's where I think we stand out most towards our competitors. We have a 24-hour IoT support service that only focuses on IoT. And really know what devices are doing, how they're connecting, and so on. And this is, I think we're the only one in Sweden, at least, doing this with our own IoT support. And we're also having the possibility to have extended SLA. Really, if something goes wrong, you will have that set in stone how it's handled and what will be the possibilities to get some coverage for any interruptions that might happen. So that's sort of an insurance. And also we have service managers with the possibility to have that can really help you with your full solution. And I used to work as a service manager here at IoT as well, and it's quite a fun job, and you really get to know the customers in depth. You see all the use cases and how they're working. You can provide information that will really help taking the next step on a journey. So it's really important services.
I mean, it's fun, of course, to work there. I'm sure it's a great team.
It is.
But also for the customers who can benefit from these really in-depth, knowledgeable people who have done similar things for other companies. It's really a service that many IoT customers can benefit a lot from, since it's so new to them, and they wouldn't know which automation rule is most fitted in a certain situation. There is so much to know.
Mm-hmm.
But also then looking at challenges to a customer, it can be these spider diagrams that we can set based on these different factors can look really different depending on which customer we're asking. And this also means that we don't have a one solution fits all setup, but instead, depending on these discussions that we need to have with our customers, also the offering gets to be different. And also speaking about, yes, we have the services that we just went through, but the idea itself, it usually comes from not us. We are not sitting and inventing ideas. That's sort of what happens here in the applied IoT class or out there in the companies. And then also the hardware itself, we don't have that in our portfolio. That's for partners to us to help out with. So we instead come in here with the connectivity management and the SIMs themselves, like which SIM offer do you need? And also, how do you take care of all this data that you assemble? We don't do that, but we sure hope that the customers are using it in the best way, because here with the power of AI, etc., it can really really help out a lot.
Yeah, since you are talking about your part, like connectivity management and SIM service as part of the IoT ecosystem. So there was a question about this in terms of offering or packages. So does Tele2 offer any packages or?
We don't, as of now, offer any packages. So we, of course, if we hear of a good idea, we can know that some customers have been using this hardware or these sensors or these routers, but it's not in our portfolio. So it's from partnerships.
So basically the question was more directed to curious engineers or students. So do you have any offers for them in 5G?
Like we have trial kits that you can apply for, where you get SIM cards with also log in to the Cisco IoT Control Center. But we used to give them away for free. And of course, I mean, if somebody's super interested, let's discuss. But normally you would have to go through some questions that our sales organization have in terms of how you see yourself scale, because that's important to us to be a customer of ours. But let's discuss, because of course we don't want to say no and see great opportunities go.
And then there was another questions regarding the global SIM cards. So when do we get global SIM cards? So exported devices can be tested in one country and be exported without SIM card modification and retesting for each international destination.
But that's a little bit about the to-switch offering that we have, that the SIM card itself has enough data to search for the network in the country, and then being able to switch to the network needed. Or Mattias, do you have another answer for it?
I think that's correct. The eSIM is the driver for that, and it's the must that you have from the very beginning. So when you have an eSIM that is more or less possible, there are different standards to how to do this, but it's the enabler and that can make it happen.
Now we're moving a little bit into the control center that Mattias is managing as a product manager. And here you see that the devices, no matter which devices there are and the SIM card they are having, they are speaking to the network. And for them, before they come to the customer's own IT systems and applications, they go them through the connectivity platform, which is the Cisco IoT Control Center that we mentioned, and where connectivity management for all your devices can be automated and set up and controlled, like on and off or troubleshoot. And this is, as we see it, to manage this connectivity when you have a lot of devices, it's critical for success. These areas, Mattias, would you like to go through them? Like,
yeah, absolutely. This is something that is already built into the platform as well. That you have security to make sure that nobody's misusing the devices. For example, you can have rules set up so you can see if the SIM card is being moved from one device to another, and make sure that it will turn off in that case. That's one thing that can be done for this. And also you have a very good cost overview. You see exactly what is being billed to each of the devices, and you can see almost near real-time monitoring of the usage. It's within a few minutes basically that you see, okay, you have a session, how much data is being transferred and so on. And globally scale, we've already talked about this. That it's possible to roam and to use it wherever we need to. And also to see that, okay, these are things that things is not behaving as it should be, and then you can take actions on that. And also, of course, ensure that persistent connectivity for bidirectional data delivery. That's pretty much what it says.
And so the core capabilities, Mattias, it's sort of, if you haven't really been in the platform, it's really smart because this is all happening in the same platform. And we do also have slides if we should go in depth, but to describe them briefly, like analytics and diagnostics with near real-time efforts.
So here in the analytics and the diagnostics part, you can see pretty much easy how the device is connecting. If it fails on some step, you will see it clearly, and you can investigate that further. And you can also get really good overview exactly of how the device is connecting. So you get really good tools for managing it. And of course, the cost, it can be. You can set up different rules regarding cost as well, so you will not get a bill shock. For example, at the end of the month, you can tweak that very good. And automations in the platform. Basically, you can say that you put one of the devices in a specific state, and then it can go live automatically just by attaching to the network. And it will start off, but before that, it's considered to be inactive. So that's also a feature in the platform. And certainly a lot of APIs in the platform, so you really can integrate it towards other systems as well. So if you don't want to do everything by hand manually in the system as such, you integrate towards the APIs and make your queries that way. So quite convenient. And of course, a lot of security built into the platform as well. So making sure that nobody breaches your data and your connectivity.
Yes. So here we can see what the connected device deployment looks like. The life cycle where you procure and configure the SIMs. They should be tested before shipping, then shipping itself, and then the provisioning and billing starts. And also the SIM cards can be deactivated or reactivated and retired so that they can no longer be used. Mm-hmm. And here we also have some, I think, cool examples of automation because that's also needed whenever these things are happening. So whenever you are in another country, change this rate plan to the favorable rates. If the data limit is exceeded, increase my rate plan for this month. If connection is lost, send a message to a technician. When consumer connects for the first time, activate the device automatically. Or if the device connects too many times, create a service ticket in the CRM system. Or if the device SIM connects from a different server device, then deactivate the SIM. So security automation in that regards. And these are, I mean, I don't know the number, Mattias, but there are like several hundreds of different automation rules depending on what you want to do with your devices.
These you can tweak basically based on anything. I'm almost saying, but yeah, a lot of different ruling you can have.
And here also, again, on the security, because here also it stands out. And for some companies, of course, security doesn't really matter. But if the device is handling really critical data, security do differ. And also with the GDPR and everything. Yeah, too much is coming out at the same time.
Well, yeah, you have two-factor authentication as well, audit trails to see what has happened in the system. EME whitelisting, that was what you mentioned. And also you have the services for voice and SMS in the system as well. And this last one, yeah, I'm not 100% sure what that one meant, but yeah, it's pretty good good security in the system,
Yeah. And so also, because I mean, it's not that we try to sell this platform to you guys, but it's great that you are aware of that it exists. Because this is, I mean, you can't come to Tele2 IoT and just say, yes, I want an amount of SIM cards. No, you also, when you get to be a customer of ours, this is also what you get. You get the connectivity management platform.
Mm-hmm.
So where you monitor the statuses and usage of your devices, where you diagnose your connectivity in the issues, and where you automate business rules, which is really, really cool and can help a lot to save time. And also making sure there is no overreach, which means that you pay more than you intended to because the devices started to use data that they shouldn't. And also the APIs, which lots of companies are finding really beneficial, because the more systems, also we hear that from customers, the more systems they have to log into, the less likely is that they log in, unless they really, really have to. But then it's great with APIs to send over all this information instead to their own systems where they do log in on a daily basis.
But this cost, does this cost is prepaid or postpaid? I mean,
it depends on how we decide to set it up together with the customer.
Okay, so both are possible.
Yeah.
Yes. We have now spoken for more than an hour, and I don't think it's needed that we log into the platform to see how this control center really is set up in detail. But we hope that you now have understood the benefits of cellular IoT. And also a shout out and a big thank you to Erik Karlsson, who really was the one who made this possible, since he took part in a competition that we launched this spring. I think he found that competition on LinkedIn. So you all are very welcome to follow us on LinkedIn. And also that you are, we send out a newsletter each month. So if you just log in to Tele2IoT.com for that, and it's there at the bottom. We also want to encourage you, if in case you do have an IoT idea that you believe in, that you should use your university's innovation hub or center or whatever aid there is, because these we believe they're really, really good and can help you a lot. And once you then see that you have a very interesting case, please reach out. And also feel very invited to our yearly IoT talks, which this year is about innovating the ordinary with this agenda.
And then, I mean, regarding the last part that you said in terms of students' project and ideas, so do you also accept students' thesis or degree projects, like at the bachelor level, at the master level, and so on?
Yes, we could. We haven't been doing it for a while, but we're open for it. So do reach out and let's discuss.
Mm-hmm. Because it's also a general question that we receive every now and then, because there are lots of interested people who might have ideas, or even they don't have ideas, they are still interested to work in the IoT domain. So
yes. So please follow us on LinkedIn. We will post whenever there is a job opening also. But also find us on LinkedIn, Mattias Hahne, Karin Edebo. And not only then for interesting IoT cases, because that would mean that you would become a customer of ours, but also then if you're interested in a thesis or something else. Yeah, I mean, we're totally open for discussions. It's you would probably need to be quite clear on what you want to accomplish, because it's not that we have anything published, but we're open for it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's very, very, very interesting to hear new ideas and thoughts and everything like that. So it can be just a brilliant discussion regarding the IoT subject. So please reach out.
Mm-hmm.
That was all we had for today. If we're not logging into the platform, and I think that we were quite detailed on what's being found there anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's already gave a lots of information to know more about Tele2. So let me see if we have some other questions on the presentation. I think I covered, if not almost, but every comments until now. But yes, so you said you came to know this course and Linnaeus University's initiative through Eric Carlson, and Eric is also one of our TAs. He's working to support the students in projects and learning. So he's one of our good resources. But regarding Tele2, I mean, in terms of services or network, I mean, so what's the coverage of the Tele2 network in terms of including roaming or direct network and so on? I mean, in Sweden or outside Sweden?
That would depend on which network we're talking about. So 5G network is expanding a lot, and right now centered around the cities, Swedish cities. For 4G, I think we say we have the best network in Sweden, covering, I think, over 95% of the population. But that still means that the population is mainly in the
south.
Yes. But
yeah, typically like that in Sweden, yeah.
But of course, we take part of the Tele2 networks for the IoT services as well. And that goes also how it's set up in the other countries where we offer roaming.
Mm-hmm.
But you can just say that we have our own networks in the Baltics as well, and in Sweden. And then we have different roaming partners throughout the world, more or less. So we're getting a roaming agreement with all different technologies as we speak.
Mm-hmm. So I think there was not a question, but there was a comment from Eric. I know a project last year that tried to use LoRa to steer a car. It was cool, but there was 100% delay.
But there was
100% delay?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe I missed the message.
Yeah, it seems like using LoRa, it might be possible. It seemed like it was, but maybe with a little bit too much delay. But yeah, surely that's something we think we will be able to do in the 5G network going forward, since you have such low delays. But also you have to mix up AI in that one and do edge computing and all of that as well. So it is not just a single network connectivity that will play part in the steering the car.
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
But I think I remember in one of the slides you also mentioned about batteries, and maybe somewhere you mentioned less than 2 AAA size batteries in terms of power consumption. But I think for cellular networks and narrowband IoT networks, this power is one of the main concerns, right?
I would say so, yes. But that was the design goals that they have when it comes into the 5G domain. I think when you include narrowband IoT and the LTM as well, that's sort of the aim for the designers. That this should be possible to do with as less as 2AA batteries to get the 10-year period lifespan. But of course you need to use the different power saving features in the technologies to be able to reach that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that's the goal. I thought that's already achieved.
No, that was the goals. Yes.
I don't see any more question, but if there are no more questions, then definitely I would like to thank you for your insightful talk.
And thank you so much for having us. We're
Okay, thank you very much.
delighted, and we'd like to come back next summer too.
Yes, and with more innovation, of course.
Yeah, certainly. That we can
And
guarantee. I would say.
people would like to see your contributions more on the free networks rather than cellular networks.
I could almost think so. Seeing some of the other videos, it's quite obvious that the course is focusing on that, and also the closeness to the hardware as well. But as I say, I think it's very dependent on the use case you're having, what kind of technology you should use. We are in the cellular IoT domain, and I think looking like streaming or something like that, then you will benefit from having it.
I guess also for you, security is a major concern. So cellular IoT is obviously top for security concerns, and that other.
And I mean, we're getting more and more stuff happening on the security part. Just looking at the COPE the other week, you don't want that happening to your IoT deployment. That would be really harsh.
Mm-hmm. I think there was one last comment or maybe question, so that I will pop up and then maybe close the session. So Eric said we have got a few students who are using LTE because it fits their project's idea the best.
Okay.
But then there was another question. Someone has some ideas for a degree projects or thesis. So to whom he or she should contact?
Yeah, just as Karin said before, if they have thesis or anything else, you're more than welcome to contact us, and we can talk about it and see what's possible to do. So yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So I guess then I can share your email addresses to the students, and they can reach out if they have any ideas.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So thank you again with this, and I want to thank Mattias and Karin, both of you, to join us. And as you said, Karin, we would like to see you next week next year as well. So and maybe with more activity.
Yeah, no, we're happy to. So all the best to everyone here following the Applied IoT, and looking forward to see you and your bright ideas in the future.
Yes.
Very much so.
Have a nice
Indeed.
day. Yes.
Okay, great.
Right. Take care.
Enjoy
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.